Hey, this is Ronnie from Southern Food Junkie, and today we're going to show you something that's near and dear to my heart from my childhood. Let's show you what it is. Alright guys, this is my sourdough starter. My mom will use sourdough starter to make sourdough bread, and she would sell the bread at Christmas time to raise money to buy us Christmas presents. So, I already have this starter. I'm not going to do a video on how to make this starter. There's several recipes you can get online. The Southern Lady Cooks is where this sourdough starter come from. My mom actually made this. I'll leave a link down below to where you can get it. We're actually going to make some of the bread, and I'm going to follow her recipe for this as well. For this recipe, you're going to need 1 cup of your sourdough starter. 1½ cups of warm water, 1/2 cup of oil. I'm using canola oil here. I think olive oil would be just fine, or vegetable oil. Either one would work great. We're going to put in 1/2 cup of white sugar, or organic sugar, which is what I'm using here. We're going to add 1½ teaspoons of salt. Here I'm using sea salt. It's a good idea when you're making bread, when you're scooping it out, you can use the back of a knife here and scrape across. That way you know that you're getting exactly 1 cup. Make sure it's packed down in there. Here we're adding 6 cups of flour. I'm using all-purpose flour, King Arthur. You can use bread flour also if you want to. You do not want to use self-rising flour with this, as the starter is what we're using to make our bread rise. So all-purpose or bread flour is what you want to use, and we're putting in 6 cups. Alright, now that we got all of our ingredients in the bowl here, the next thing to do is just to mix it up. You're going to mix it up until it kind of starts forming a ball. Then what we're going to do is we're going to dump it out on our surface, a floured surface. If you have a pastry mat or something, that works great for this. If not, you can just use your kitchen countertops. It cleans up pretty good. But basically, we just want to get it into a nice ball. It's not going to be smooth yet. It could be kind of lumpy, but you basically just want all the bread, all the crumbs to just combine with it. And let's show you how that looks. Here we are mixing it up. Want to note that I'm using a wooden spoon, and I'm also using a stoneware bowl. Some say that the acid in the starter can cause a reaction. So I think if you use stainless steel, you're fine. But anyway, we're going to combine all this together till it incorporates pretty good. Then we're going to dump it out on our floured surface. Just going to knead it for several minutes. We're just trying to get all the bits and pieces to incorporate. If you can see up under the bottom here, I keep scooping it up as I do a fold and press down. When you're kneading, you're just going to fold it over and then use the heel of your palm to push down. And basically, like I said, we're just trying to incorporate all this together. So this is basically what we're looking for. It won't, like I said, it won't be smooth and pretty, but if you look at it, it's not really that sticky. Now we're going to put it back in our bowl. We'll show you how we prepare it. Add a couple tablespoons to your bowl that you're going to let it proof in or rise in. Then we're going to take our dough ball and we're going to place it into the bowl, and we're going to roll it around in that oil, coat all the sides of it. This will help the dough from drying out, and it gives it some moisture as it's rising, so as it stretches. Next thing we'll do is cover our dough, keep it from drying out. If you have saran wrap, I prefer to use it, but if you don't have saran wrap, you can just use a tea towel or dishcloth. Either one will work fine. Now what we're going to do is we're going to place this in a warm, non-drafty area. You can put this in your oven. You can put it in an oven that has not been turned on for a while, pretty much like a cold oven. You can cut the light on in there, provide some heat. You basically want it to be between 70 and 75 degrees. What I do is I place mine on top of the stove here. It's a non-drafty area. There's no, it's summertime here. There's no AC vents directly around this. And it does fine. What we're looking for, we were looking for the dough to rise overnight. You can do it shorter than that. Once the dough doubles, you can go ahead and punch it down and use it. But I found 8-9 hours of rising, it develops a better flavor, and I think the bread texture is better. So that's what we're gonna do. This is part one of making the bread. And tomorrow we'll come back, we'll punch the bread down, just like it says. You'll put your fist into the dough and punch it down. We'll roll it back out onto a floured surface. We'll knead it for a few minutes, and then we'll split it and put it in our loaf pans, and then we gotta let it rise a second time. So y'all stay tuned for that, and we'll see y'all in the morning. Alright guys, so it is the next day, the next morning. We are ready to punch down our bread, and we're going to knead it for a few minutes and divide it up and put it in our loaf pans. Take your saran wrap off your bread and set that saran wrap to the side, because we're going to use it again in a little bit. Now that we got our saran wrap off, you're just going to punch it down, knock all the air out of the bread. Slide your bowl to the side, grab your flour, put a little flour on your surface here. And then we're going to roll our bread out onto the floured surface there. We're just going to knead it for about a minute or two. We want a nice smooth ball. Now that we got our nice smooth ball, we're going to take our dough cutting tool and we're going to cut this in half. Don't have to be exact, so I'm just going to eyeball this. Try to get it close as I can. Now we're taking a little bit of flour and dust at the top. That's just to keep it from sticking to our hands. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold it into each other. This stretches the top, and it makes the top of it smooth. And you just take the bottom and kind of twist it in. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay it in the pan like this. Going to spray a little bit of non-stick sprayer in a pan and rub it around real good. You can use oil on a rag or Crisco, whichever one you want. Place your dough ball into your pan, and we're going to grab those saran wrap that we laid to the side from our first proofing, and we're going to put over the top of this to help keep it from drying out. Alright, so we got our dough into our pans, we got it divided up, we got it into our pans, and we're going to let it proof for a second time. We're going to let it rise until it doubles in size, approximately about 2 to 3 hours. So once we get back, it'll be time to bake it, and we'll see y'all in just a little while. Alright guys, our loaves have doubled in size. We've been letting them rise for an additional 3 hours. We're going to go ahead and preheat our oven. Once our oven gets up to temp, we're going to put our bread in the oven, and then we're going to bake it for about 35 to about 45 minutes. Let's show you what our bread looks like after it's doubled in size. Here you can see our bread. It's almost filling up the pan. It's doubled in size here. We will remove this wrap from it, and then we will put it in the oven. Wish you could smell how wonderful this smells. Alright guys, I've taken the bread out of the oven. I cooked mine for 35 minutes. You can see the nice crust here. Normally I do put it on a cooling rack like you see here. I dump it out of the pan and I will put a tea cloth or dishcloth, something of the sorts, over the top of it to keep, you know, bugs and stuff off of it and to let it cool off. I wish you could smell this right now. This one looks a little different here because I put a slice across the top. Just to give it some character. It really doesn't do a whole lot to it. Alright guys, thank y'all for watching Southern Food Junkie and following along as we made this sourdough bread. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you try to make it. Remember to go to a Southern Lady Cooks and grab that starter recipe. Takes about 5 or 6 days to make the actual starter. The longer you keep it going, the better the starter is. I'm not going to try this bread today because I'm actually giving it to a couple of friends. So you can guarantee my word that this bread is really good because I made some a few days ago and it was very tasty. So give it a try and remember, let's get food jump.